Okay, we're recording. Here we are, live and direct from the Nightlife Entrepreneur Podcast, and my man Julio Mario, and we have our special guest Vania Toledo.
Hello, thank
Bienvenida,
you.
welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Finally, we get you to come to our show.
Finally, this is such an exciting moment.
We have canceled, she's canceled, kidney stones, losing voices,
Parties,
all these things have happened.
Revolucion.
Now we're here.
The liquor industry.
Wow.
There you go. All right, guys, so we start every episode with our handles, which are?
Mine's is the At Doral Food and Wine Festival, which you were part of last year, and she's going to be joining us this year. And you can also find me at Ico Taps Beer.
You can find me at The Nightlife Entrepreneur and at LMG Miami, where you can find all our parties. You can find my book on Amazon.
Party like a rock star.
And you find us on nightlifeentrepreneurs.com/podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Podomatic, YouTube, you name it, you'll find us.
Wow.
What about you?
Search.
Well, we have the at Tequila Revolucion USA on Instagram and as well on Facebook. And it's really amazing. We have a nice feed there. Awesome. Of our events and places you can find, the brand and enjoy and interact with us. We do some really fun.
What about
fun
your personal Instagram?
My personal at Vania Toledo 2016.
Okay.
And Instagram and then Facebook Vania Toledo.
All right. First things first. What do you do?
How long you been doing this?
Oh wow. Well, I wear many hats, but the latest hat is brand marketing director in the U.S. for this particular super premium tequila.
Right. Did you
yes.
see the packaging? Beautiful.
It really
beautiful
is.
Beautiful presentation.
It stands out, definitely.
Yes.
I like, my thing is, I have a marketing advertising PR background, but my passion is building brands. That has been what has driven me to make changes in my career as the years have gone by. And I was with another well-known high-end rum brand called Botran for 4 years, and that was amazing.
That was with Emilio.
With Emilio and
that
Gloria.
was launched 4 years ago. So you started in the beginning with that brand?
Yes. Well, they had a slow entrance into the U.S. They repackaged something similar that we're doing with Revolucion, and when that repackaging came in, I came on board, and it was exciting to see the dynamics of growing the brand. And then this kind of fell into my lap from people that I've known in the industry, and they thought I would be a good fit, and I think it's coming on a year right now in September. Right. It's been great.
Vania, so I met you probably like about a decade ago at Blue Martini, actually, and at that time you were working with events. You were working with the events department at Blue Martini. Private events, corporate events, all that kind of stuff.
She was working at Blue Martini?
At Blue Martini, before she was doing this part.
So she knew the behind the scenes.
Oh,
right.
yes.
So that's what I'm wondering. How did you start in the industry in general?
So when I first got my bachelor's degree, I was already in the marketing field, the flower industry and in the beauty industry. Yes.
Wow.
So I've done marketing for several different types of industries. Blue Martini came about after I had my son. I was kind of ready to sink my teeth back into my career again. And an old girlfriend of mine that I used to do promotional modeling for the liquor industry reached out to me and said, hey, I know you have your degree now. There's an opening for a special events manager at the Blue Martini in Brickell. The GM, Berto, our friend, is looking for someone, and I think you'd be a good fit.
Shout out to Berto.
Shout out,
Berto.
Berto.
What's up?
Kendall.
Woo. And so I went. Both. So I did 4 years. We did Brickell, and then they opened up Kendall, and I went to the team that opened up Kendall, and it did give me that behind the scenes look at the nightlife, the hospitality side. I was on the side of, picking what would be served at a party with the host and what new spirits were coming to present to me as, the side of the place.
No, this is good because it gives you an advantage. So you know where they're coming from, you know what they're thinking, you know everything. So that's actually a pretty good strategy that she knows exactly what the venue is looking for.
Because for those of you that don't know, Ico's kind of in that world.
Yeah, I'm in that world as well.
So
I'm a beerpreneur.
There you go.
It's a good one.
It's just that it's in the beer business.
Yeah.
So, but you have the upper hand because I never worked behind the scenes.
Right. So if you watch our first episode 0, we actually spoke a little about what where we met, which was in this same thing. me with the events or owning a venue, and you were
supporting
with one of the beers, one of the Colombian beers, Águila
with
at the time.
Cerveza Águila de Colombia, de Barranquilla.
Which, by the way, we don't have Cusqueña on the table today.
Yes.
For obvious reasons. You know.
Today.
But the point is this: you used the word. You have an advantage.
Yes.
Now I'm going to ask
us
you,
liquor people have many advantages.
Yeah, because sometimes, you people, I keep calling you guys you people for some reason. Because for some reason, it sometimes when people negotiate, either if you're a venue or a producer, promoter, whatever, with liquor, a brand, or whoever it is that you are dealing with, it seems like it's two sides, and trying to get this thing going, but it's like two sides. So you know. Why is it not more of a we're both on the same side? Is there a reason or?
I think that everybody is watching out for the bottom dollar, and at the end of the day, a buyer needs to make sure that their liquor cost is showing a profitable margin. And I understand that because I've been on that side. Coming from this side, I understand that, so I still do what I can to work within what those parameters are, especially if it's a location that you really want to showcase your spirit, you know, and it's something that's going to be very prominent in Miami, and you want to make things work, make things make sense.
And keep in mind, you know, it all has to make sense.
Right.
And the deal and everything could go great.
Right.
And the negotiation. But once your product is behind that bar, and we have individuals like El Gato.
Right.
Shout out to El Gato.
Episode 1.
Yeah.
By the way.
So then, you know what I mean? It believe it or not, more negotiation has to be done, because at the end of the day, as a brand, she goes into the venue, she represents this brand, she goes in and she negotiates with the producers of the event, with the venue, but then again, the educational part is a very important factor, where the bar manager, the wait staff has to be very educated and up on the product. I have a feeling
this is going to be like a 2 against 1 today.
Yeah. Well, they have to be up on the product.
Right.
And you know, it's funny because it's hard for them. You know, imagine how many brands they have to work with. Imagine how
many brands do they really care about? That's another thing.
So there's different things, but listen, at the end of the day, I believe, you know, that's why it's important to have a good brand manager and have, you know, because that person will go in there, educate their wait staff, educate them why it's important for them to, you know, offer this product. You know, this is something new that we're bringing into the market, or if it's not new and it's just hot, you know what I mean?
So how many times a week do you end up having to have a shot of that?
Well, I do more cocktail, you know, type drinks as opposed to shots, because again, it is a super premium and it's either sipping or on cocktails, and I love to vibe with who I call the artists behind the bar. They are beyond bartenders to me. They are beyond mixologists. They are artists. Some of them, I'll take the bottle and I'll show them. It has a built-in decanter in the top. And just seeing the fascination on their faces, give me that. I want to work with it. And then they smell it and they're getting inspired of what ingredients they can put together in a cocktail. That makes it very exciting for me. So it's kind of like, okay, artists, you've got your, you know, your power tools. Make something exciting and let's see, you know, what comes of it. So it's various times a week, because I do go back after we place a product in a new account, and I come back and train the staff. They do the tasting of all 5 expressions. We've got 5 expressions in the line. And then I come back once every couple of weeks to support that brand. Hey, I'm back here again, and I'm gonna have lunch here. I'm gonna have dinner. I'm gonna come with a friend. We're gonna have some cocktails. Makes it exciting.
Could you explain why they created this?
Yes. Okay, so basically the bottles didn't even look like this a couple of years ago. They had guns in the front. They were very much about the Mexican Revolution and supporting that. And you know, some of the U.S. You know, partners came in and said, you know, I think we should maybe revamp it and make it a little bit more luxe, so it depicts how super premium the juice is. So they sent the previous bottle to their designer in France, and he took one whiff of it and said, wow, it's so aromatic for being a tequila. I'm thinking of a perfume bottle. So the design is very much, I mean, something women would love to have in a smaller version in a perfume, and he thought of the built-in aerator. It's about 1.5 ounces, and so they leave the neck as an air pocket. So when you do this, you are actually oxygenating. You see all the bubbles?
That's what I was about to
About
ask
1.5 ounces worth into the cocktail, and basically it's gonna taste good with or without doing that. It just opens up the bouquet.
Right. Awesome.
Beautiful.
This is the first time that this happens, but as you can see, Aiko left us with his tequila served. Something happened with the system, it crashed, and we lost you guys. But here we are, we're back. It's the first time it happens, and I have a feeling somebody's watching. We were talking about something that we don't know if it's legal, illegal, or whatever, but we'll bring it up again later. The point is, he's gone, and now we can actually talk business, because I felt like this was like a 2-on-1 interview today. You know what I mean? It just felt a little awkward. I've been the one trying to, what do you say? I met him doing this kind of thing, doing business. Him as a brand ambassador, is that the term? Is that?
Yeah, pretty much. Marketing, brand ambassador, brand builder.
Mm-hmm. And myself at that time owning a venue and producing some events. They sponsored that. Great. Since then, we haven't been able to do any other kind of business except for this kind of co-hosting and fun that we have here every week. Okay. Now, hopefully, we're going to be doing some business with this amazing tequila.
Yes, definitely.
But let's talk about that a little bit. Back in the day, it used to be different. I would get money, for example, from a rum. A Puerto Rican rum called Don Q would sponsor some events that we would do weekly at a venue called Senior Frogs back in the day, back in Coral Gables. And we'd have flyers done every week. Those flyers would be paid for by Don Q. They would give us the money actually, and we'd pay for the flyers. We'd basically like show an invoice. This is how much it was. That's how it worked. That's one thing. Another thing that happened is we got, for example, a distributor to get a bunch of their brands to sponsor different parts of one of our venues, and we remodeled the whole venue with money from those different brands. It was amazing. And basically what they did was like they would have a section with a logo from that brand, and we would call it, whatever, vodka and whatever, tequila, whatever.
Right.
So it worked for both sides. Everybody was happy in the end. Nowadays, it feels like it's a lot, more difficult to get money or to get something paid for. I don't know if it just works differently or,
I guess every brand works differently. Sometimes you're with a brand directly, like we are just one brand. Sometimes you work with a distributor, they have a portfolio of brands. Sometimes within a distributor, there is a portfolio of brands. So it really depends who you are approaching. But for us, that we're still a boutique, smaller brand, we work it a little differently. So if a venue is going to use our brand during the World Cup, for example, this is something that we recently did, and they tell us, we'd love to have some table tents made up with like the schedule of the games with our logo and your logo, and it'll be on all the tables. So when people come, they know that we have a promotion with Tequila Revolucion. No problem. How many would you need? I have an in-house printing company that I work with my advertising agency.
Okay.
We come up with the design. If they give us the okay that they're fine with the way their logo looks, we take it to print and we deliver it to them at the venue. So it's not like we give them the cash or a check for the venue to do it themselves. Right. It's more like we produce it, we produce the piece, and then we put it out there at the venue for promoting whatever it is, a series of events or just single event that we're doing.
I see. So you have any idea if this is something, if this is like a legal matter, if this is more of like an economy kind of thing? Like, because I know things are a little different nowadays. A lot of venues are not doing as well as they used to.
Right.
A lot of things have changed. We talk a lot here about millennials and how they don't go out as much as our generation.
True.
And I'm sorry if I'm putting myself in your generation because mine's probably a little before, but the point is, it's changed. It's different. You know, they have Tinder. They don't need to go out to find the stuff that we used to sell.
They definitely don't go out the way we used to. I remember the Friday nights was like, we're going to the beach, and now the beach is more for the locals. You know what I mean, or for the tourists.
Tourism.
And for us, it was our place to go. And Thursday nights was Coconut Grove, and Friday nights was the beach. Nowadays, it's very different. People are definitely doing more of the group thing, or more restaurant/lounge closer to home. A little different, but the economy, I'm sure, has played a big part. You know, there are bigger brands that used to sponsor ginormous events year after year, and now you see it very scaled back. The amount of logos of the certain brands is definitely come down in scale. So economy, I'm sure, plays a big role in it. Legalities, I mean, at the end of the day, it's more about if this is a person, you know, a location that already purchases from you, and they're having a special event, and you want to donate a couple of cases for a charity event that they're doing, that's okay. You know, there's just certain things that are going to be okay, and certain things that are probably going to be questionable, and you just have to make sure you check with your team and the powers that be, you know, what is right and what is wrong.
Now, you mentioned location that already, you know, buys your product. So is it a possibility to have you sponsor an event at a venue that does not?
It is possible, and we have done it. But again, because we're a smaller brand, we have to be very careful about where we are spending the marketing dollars or the branding dollars. We would like for there to be at least an initial purchase. Why? Because at least it gives us a chance to go back to that location and develop the brand with promotions, a special night. Sometimes it doesn't happen, and it happens to be a great event for a good cause, and we do it anyways, and then we just try to come back and, you know, touch base with that brand manager or bar manager and say, hey, is there any chance that maybe we can, you know, work together in the future? There's going to be both sides of it, but it would be the ideal scenario is that they do, if they're not already a customer, they want to become a customer, even if it's on a smaller scale.
Okay. So another thing I've been thinking is, I don't know that many people that do what you do. I mean, coincidentally, it's the first time I sit with two in one interview, but and that's why it always interests me. Like, how do you get into something like this? Like, what brings you to it? But how does somebody pick you as the person that's going to represent a whole brand, for example? Right,
and I have a lot of you know, friends that have asked me that have either hit a stalemate in their career and they want to make a change, or that they are in school and they're not sure what they want to study. For me in particular, it was communications. It was always about relationships with people, public relations, advertising, marketing. I liked the umbrella of that. And yes, the degrees look great on paper. Some companies will only hire you if you happen to have a bachelor's or a master's. But I realize now more than ever, as many years as I've been in the industry, is experience. 100%. How much experience do you have? I can come right out of college and never worked a day in my life, and they would have never selected me to do this role or any of the roles I've had in the last 10, 15 years. Because it's been relationships, been on one side of the hospitality industry, promotional modeling, which was my first time ever working with a spirit. It was my side gig while I went to college and worked during the day. So associate yourself with people, meet people, do internships in the industry, if you will, if it's going to give you credits while you're in school, or even if it's a low-paying internship, if you can squeeze that in. What kind of
internship? Since, you know, we do have a lot of people, I'm sure, that are going to be interested in getting into this business, and in that direction where we're at. It's not all about promoters or club owners, bartenders. You know, there's a lot of areas in this, and that's one of them that is beautiful. You guys, you know, you started with one brand, you are with a different one.
Another one.
You're doing something right.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I'm enjoying the ride, that's for sure. And I learn something new every day. You can never say you've learned it all. But in terms of what you were asking about the internships, you know, approach some of the distributors, the importers. They do post internship opportunities that will give you credits while you're in school. Some of them are paid internships. So they may not pay as a full-blown career, but you're getting your foot in the door. You're meeting people in the right places. Sometimes specific brands will do a series of paid internships for a launch of a new segment in their category. So I think it's just important to to be aware of what are the websites that hire within, let's say, the beverage industry, and see what there is out there for you to get your foot in the door and really just start connecting with people. You cannot forget how important that face-to-face is. South Beach Wine and Food Festival, all of those big festivals where you're going to be able to interact with people as
Doral Food and Wine, by the way, in November, since Aiko didn't say it this time.
We'll be there. Revolucion will be there
There
again.
you go. Mm-hmm. So when the camera went down, we were talking a little bit about something else that you mentioned, which was that you also do like a lot of TV, and you've even done some product placement in movies and all that kind of thing. Right. Can you tell me a little more about that?
So again, that's meeting the right people. I had done an event when I was with a brand before Revolucion, and at the event I met someone who loved the brand and what the cocktails that were being made, and we struck up a conversation, and I stayed in contact with that person for the last couple of years, and they just reached out to me and said, oh, now I'm doing some product placements now in movies, and when the movies are being filmed in South Florida, it's a low-cost way for you to get your product in front of the camera. Right. Surprisingly enough, the price point isn't always that high if it's a more of a low budget film, and something where it's more local, and it's still a way to get your product in front of millions of people that are going to go to the theater and go and watch that movie. So it's making the connections and being able to do that. Same thing with music videos. Sometimes it's a nominal fee, and you bring a couple of cases to decorate whatever the bar area scene is in that music video, and that is your entryway again to be seen by, who knows now with YouTube, how many millions of hits do music videos get, as opposed to MTV, which no longer plays music videos, which maybe would have had a smaller audience. Now people will view it and review it and view it again.
Vania, now that you mentioned those, there's something that's kind of new to us, which is the social media part, influencers and that kind of thing. Do you guys do anything like that? Like, because I'd be glad to be drinking your product. Just kidding.
So we just launched a influencer blogger program, and we shipped out some beautiful bottles with some marketing material to some of the food, fashion and beverage writers in the South Florida and New York area. It's just a stepping stone into, we would love to start working with more influencers. Again, these are all things that they do cost money. They are not for free. No one is going to want to post about a brand unless there is some type of influencer fee involved. And so it's just something that is a huge segment of the industry, and it is relatively new. A lot of brands have been exploring it for a couple of years, but in the last year or so, I want to say it's really become a hot topic, because who is the right person, and how natural is it going to look in their feed of their life? How posed is it going to be? So there's still some details that we're hashing out as a brand and trying to figure out what's going to be the best way to go about it. But definitely very, very much at the front of all of the conversations that we're having.
Yeah, if we were having this conversation 10 years ago, I would tell you, let me do this. Right now, I can't handle Revolucion 5 days a week, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely not something that usually one person can do on their own, but spread evenly. I think it would be a good idea, and definitely something to explore. These are people that have thousands and hundreds of thousands, and some of them 1 million plus followers on their social media channels. So people are watching their every move, and they want to emulate what they do. Other thing is, obviously, since I had worked with another brand, is bringing in a celebrity, but there you're looking at a ginormous amount of cash that needs to be available to be able to pay what that fee is, because that person is now available for you for advertisements and for public appearances and red carpet events. And so it's just something that a brand
works. It must work, because a lot of people are doing it.
No, it works. It definitely works. You definitely see a lot more celebrities attached to brands now that we did 5 or 10 years ago, especially in the spirits industry.
Right. Have you ever thought of working with a big brand, or do you rather work with something smaller?
I have. I've definitely considered working for a big brand or a distributor or an importer, and that's never off the table. But thus far, what has driven me and motivated me, like I was saying at the beginning of the interview, is the idea of growing a brand, taking a brand that I never knew existed
Right.
And by the time that a couple of years transpire, it's somewhat of a household name. Now it has certain households where it is a household name.
Right.
It's not, you're not going to be the cup of tea for everyone at every place. There's a certain price point for certain, spirits, but it's nice to know that you've made a dent. You're part of a team. You're working towards something.
Right. Can you tell me the difference between what you mentioned just now, distributor, and what are the different?
So the importer is the company that brings in the product from another country. Okay. So this product is made in Jalisco, Mexico, and there is an importer, and they import it into the United States.
Okay.
Then that importer needs a distributor for that product to be distributed to all of the retail stores and hotels and nightclubs. And then you have that side, the distributor. They are the ones that receive it from the importer and start putting it with their sales force into liquor stores, bars, nightclubs, restaurants, lounges, whatever it may be. And then you have the point of sale, which is the liquor store, the wine store, the Publixes of the world,
right,
and restaurants and so on and so forth.
Right.
So those are the three main pieces of the puzzle.
Okay. And now the ones that you work with directly are usually that last part?
I work for the brand. So I'm actually with the brand that gets imported, then distributed, then gets put into those entities, those final points of sale. The reason, even though I work directly for the brand, I come in contact with all of the other entities for, the reasons that they are the ones who provide me my marketing, information, and
right,
they're the ones who put me in contact with the sales force so that they can take me out on a peer day and visit some of their accounts and get to know who they are and come from the brand's perspective. So I do get a chance to talk to all of the entities at some point in my week.
Right. All right. So I know that mostly everything in this industry is beautiful and amazing and great, but a lot of times we have something bad happen to us. Do you have any memories that are, like, I just want to get out of here, I don't want to do this anymore?
There's never been something that 100% makes me say, I'm going to throw in the towel, but there are things that make me pull back a little bit. Some of those things have been, we have pretty much secured an amazing event that's going to showcase our brand in the best way, and a bigger brand sweeps in and says, I can give you this much signage, this much this, I can do the stage, and we can hire a band, and all of a sudden we're shut out because we don't have the pockets for it.
Right.
That's been one of the one of the deterrents. Another deterrent is when you do have a big marketing strategy and the budget is simply just not there. You're still too new. You're still too too green, and the owners of a lot of the spirits, they take their babies very seriously,
right,
and they want to see things develop before they start shelling out the big bucks for event supports and whatnot. So sometimes you kind of feel a little stifled in what you can do or how much limitations you have due to budget. So I think budget constraints, if anything, have been more of the pullback for me in the years that I've been in the industry.
Now, but do the big brands, do they start as small brands or are they born huge?
I've seen both. I've seen some that start itty bitty, and with the right marketing, they are able to grow and get to where they need to be. And I've seen some that come with huge marketing budgets, and they are just everywhere, and you cannot miss them. So they go from the infancy stage to the blow up stage within a year, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're everywhere.
Like I remember, for example, my offices were in Wynwood, and next door I had a rum distillery called Miami Club Rum, and nobody knew what it was or anything, and then all of a sudden you're seeing billboards everywhere with William Levy drinking Miami Club Rum.
Right.
And for some reason I started seeing it in a lot of the venues. I don't know exactly where they are today. The
celebrity angle, I mean, you just can't go wrong with that. And he's a big name, here in most of the US, but Miami in particular, and New York and California. And so they know exactly where they're putting the marketing budget. And that's another thing that's important. You don't go out and put a billboard project all over the US.
Right.
You're very specific about which demographic you're talking to.
Right. So what would you say to those people that want to get into this? Is there any tip, specific tip that you would give to them, where to begin, where it needs to start if they want to go in your part of the industry?
Become very well acquainted with the spirits industry in the aspect of observe what they're.
You mean drink a lot?
Well, I mean, there's definitely going to be some of that happening.
Which, by the way,
we're definitely going to have to sample this right now. So we have to, observe what are the liquor stores selling through? When you walk in somewhere, who's doing a promotion? How are people perceiving that? Notice what advertisements are like. Notice what's happening in magazines. The beverage industry in terms of Instagram and social media in general. What are the beverage writers writing about? Where are they traveling to cover? What new countries are exporting? What new spirits? So become well acquainted and then go to some of the festivals. Go to the South Beach Wine and Food Festival. Approach some of the brands.
Doral,
definitely. That was very surprising. What a beautiful show they put on last year. I'm very excited about doing that in November again. Observing, go up to some of the brands at the tables and interact with the people that are there representing the brand. You'd be surprised. Sometimes they're needing someone to work with them or to build their brand, and that could be a good starting point.
A lot of PR.
A lot of
for
that,
sure.
Definitely.
And that's where your smile comes from, I imagine. Or drinking a lot of these.
I think it's a good mixture.
Let's try this one.
Salud.
It smells amazing, by the way.
This is extra añejo, aged 3 years, American cask.
All right.
So smooth.
I had not had any hard spirit liquor, whatnot, since my kidney stones. That's my first drink, and that's great. That is great.
It's so smooth, yeah. Definitely do that with cigar and a snifter, something nice. After dinner. It's a nice cocktail.
So we're definitely going to do something at one of our parties, or more than one of our parties. And for sure, I know we're going to see you at the Doral Food and Wine. Definitely. But at the end of every episode, we do a little segment called the Night Father, Night Mom in this case. And we just basically talk a little bit about being a parent in this industry. I know that you're not on the night side of it anymore, because you used to, both when you were branding and when you were working with the events. But still, this takes a lot of time. And like you said, for example, when you're doing maybe product placement in a movie, you might finish at 2 a.m. And all those things. Right. So it takes a lot of your time. Yes. We're doing this right now here, and this is off hours for sure, which thank you for that. But any tips for those moms, that are in the industry or that are planning to get in the industry, of how to do it? Like what is, how do you make both things work? Well,
it's I love to say that there's a balance for everything, but sometimes the scales are, they tip in one side or another. So on the days where I know that I'm picking up the children and I'm taking them to their after school activities, I try to carve out that time for them. And then sometimes I do have to, after I've set them up at home with dinner, go and sponsor an event and be somewhere. But I've carved out a time to be at dance and at golf and do what I can. And yes, I'm tired. I came back from a whirlwind 3-city tour of training, and I came right into something of dance for my daughter and a golf tournament for my son. I didn't have a free moment on the weekend, but you have to try to make it work where they see the fruits of your labor. Okay, mommy's working, but mommy's, making these things possible for us. But then she's also there when I'm receiving this award and when I'm, doing this, dance competition. Try to find some type of balance. Carve out certain days of the week where, they're the days that you're going to be doing this particular thing for the business. I try to put my appointments around the same times of the day in one certain area of the city, so that I'm there, and when I'm done, there's not a lot of the driving back and forth, because you lose a lot of time in traffic in Miami. True. So just try to carve out your days, a week or so in advance. Make sure that you try to be present there, and when you're present, try to be present. Put the phone away. Yes. So hard.
100%. See, one more person that says it's possible. every time, no, because a lot of people think it's impossible. I hear so many that don't have children say, I don't know how you guys are doing this. Yeah, I know I got 3, you got 2 of your own. But it's not impossible. You just gotta, number one, love what you do, but you gotta also leave it, leave work at work. Come, be 100% with your children, quality time for sure at home, and the husband, for sure. So we are very happy to have had you here. We waited for this interview for a while, and I'm sure we're gonna have you again, because we're probably gonna be at the festival, and we're going to be doing a lot of small interviews during the festival, and we'll probably see you there. But we thank you. And one more time, I want to ask your handles so people can find the product, they can find you, and what are they?
Vania Toledo 2016. That would be Instagram, Facebook Vania Toledo, and Tequila Revolucion USA.
All right. By the way, do you work with them just locally or US?
US. So brand marketing US.
So wherever you guys are in the United States, if you want to work with them, you know who to reach out to. You can find us, by the way, at Icotap's Beer. I know you can't see him right now, but he's there. And at Doral Food and Wine Festival. And you can find me at the Nightlife Entrepreneur and at LMG Miami, where you find our parties. Remember to buy the book on Amazon. You can find us also at nightlifeentrepreneurs.com/podcast, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, you name it, go find us. See you next week.